the latest installment of The Boys Season 4, Episode 6, released this past week on Prime Video, entitled Dirty Business. And so we are entering into the final stretch of this new season. There's only 2 episodes left now after this episode is aired. We're once again going to do spoilers and talk about all the interesting details, all the nitty gritty with the latest installment of The Boys. But before we do that, we're just going to start with some general big picture thoughts about the latest edition. So with all of that said, man, what did you think about episode 6 of The Boys Season 4?
Man, this episode is titled Dirty Business. And that's exactly what this episode is, man. There's a lot to unpack on this episode, that we'll talk about. And it's good, man. A lot is going down in this episode. I think so much happened here. I mean, so many needles moved. So many things were talked about. So many things happened, man. And I love to see it. And there's a lot of still shocking moments. But they service the story, I think, in a right way. But I like this episode, man, because of all the things that happen, because of all the pieces that are moving. And yeah, this one's really hard for me to talk about without not spoiling it. But man, I think this is a decent episode. I think there's so much, I think, underneath the surface still of what's happening because of the way all the pieces are coming together. Like, whoa, like something weird is about to go down, or something crazy is about to go down. I can't wait to see exactly how that turns out and what that is. But I just really like episodes like this, to where at the end of it, you're like, well, we can write a book on everything that happened. So let's do just that. So yeah, man. Not too much to be concerned about this episode around. I think it was really solid, man. And yeah, I can't wait to see what happens next.
I really, really liked this episode a lot. I think the element and the aspect of it that I enjoyed the most was how focused it was, because The Boys as a series now at this particular juncture, because there's so many characters, it truly is an ensemble. It has a certain element of, I guess unfocused nature, to some of the episodes that it tends to have, just because there are multiple characters with a lot of storylines that we're following, a lot of B plots. So oftentimes we don't really get many of the characters in the same place. Even much less so the 7 and the boys. Typically integrating in the same quarters. You might have a few characters here, a few characters there, but there's so many like side adventures happening. So many people are on individual missions and doing things. But the fact that this episode focused in everything at one particular place, I thought was a really, really strong choice that they made here. It reminded me somewhat of Herogasm from last season, because everything sort of converged on that moment. I think that they tried to use this episode in a very similar context, where all the stuff that we've seen, occur in the previous 5 episodes, they're sort of reaching this this nexus point of what this episode is going to be. And then the final 2 episodes are going to obviously deal with the fallout and set up season 5. But I thought it was great that we just kind of focused in on one particular event, one location for the most part. And then everybody who needed to be involved was there to varying degrees. But, there's always one word that we'll forever associate with The Boys as a show, and that's diabolical. And this episode was fucking diabolical. My goodness. There was so much not safe for work shit in this episode. Like,
so much.
Jesus Christ. You damn near want to watch this alone. If you've been watching it with your boo or your bae, I don't know if that's a good idea. There's some weird, freaky shit going on. This episode gets crazy. I mean, we've talked a lot about the shocking elements and the need, or maybe the not so need, to introduce some shocking stuff. And I mean, I think we have to revisit that once again, because they have taken it to places that just couldn't have predicted, couldn't have imagined. But here we are. They continue to find very inventive, creative, and very disturbing ways to continue to shock us and awe us based on some of the actions that take place in this particular series. But I enjoyed it a lot. It did a lot emotionally to set up some particular arcs that are going to be meaningful in these final 2 episodes as we get towards them very quickly here. But let's talk about the episode in detail. So if you've not seen episode 6 of The Boys Season 4, this is your official spoiler warning. Go watch the episode and come back and finish out the rest of our conversation. So the basic premise of this episode is all built around this party that Tech Knight is hosting at his mansion. It's basically going to have Victoria Newman in attendance. The 7 are going to be in attendance. A lot of political figures, a lot of billionaire rich people are going to be at this party. It's a very important event for them all to be at, considering that there is an upcoming election that's going to happen. And where I actually do want to start is sort of the political implications of what's happening here. This all goes down probably towards the middle, maybe even towards the end of the episode, where we're seeing that the people in attendance, the billionaires that are at Tech Knight's mansion, they want to know what's going to go down. Like, how are we gonna overcome Robert Singer, who's on the Democratic side running for president? He's the president elect at this point. What are we going to do to address these issues? And we get an interesting moment to where Homelander is now presented a situation to where he has to answer for these things by himself. Sister Sage has been taken out, sort of in the moment because she's been shot in the head. I'll circle back to that in a second, but he has to sort of fend for himself and speak on things that he's probably not that well versed in, and he has a moment of just being uncomfortable. But Victoria Newman, she steps in, she tells them what they want to hear. Basically, you all have the power. You're running the country. If you help us overthrow Robert Singer, we're going to create this coup. We're going to be good. You all should be running the country. It'll be no problem if you have me on this ticket. Boom. And I think we clearly see that rubs Homelander the wrong way. He has a immediate reaction. He doesn't feel comfortable with that at all. How did you feel about this whole thing? Because things have been calculated to have Homelander still maintain control. Sister Sage has been sort of his secret weapon. But at the moment that she's not even advisable, she's not even useful in this particular situation, Homelander has, I think, somewhat of a moment of vulnerability and weakness, because he's not equipped. He's just not equipped to talk about these things. And then alongside him, Newman, who he has been working alongside for quite a amount of time, she kind of steps in and overshines him in this moment, and I think it's going to have some interesting implications moving forward for how their relationship continues to develop. But what did you think about how this whole thing unfolded at the party?
So crazy. Again, you pretty much said it, man. To see Homelander in a position where he's vulnerable, he's made to feel weak, and it didn't have to do with actual physical strength. It wasn't the cure to V or trying to kill Soups. It was a moment where he had no political power in the room. He didn't have really any real speaking power. He couldn't articulate the thing he needed to articulate to tell these people what they needed to hear. But Victoria Newman did, and I know we hated that because for so many reasons. Of course, him and Victoria Newman are on such opposing sides, and the ways in which she operates, she doesn't like any of these people. Kind of in a lot of ways, kind of similar. Sister Sage doesn't either. I think it's funny though. Like people, we just be in these rooms with a bunch of people we don't like, but it's also interesting because it's the two women in the room that feel like that, and that's probably exactly how they live day to day, man, with people who don't have their best interests at heart. And in that moment where Homelander can't say anything or doesn't know how to answer to get to where he needs to go, somebody else is made to step up. And I know he cannot stand it as Victoria Newman. So I thought it was a really good scene because of the way also Anthony Starr was acting in that moment. It was all like eyes. Like he made his eyes watery, almost like he like clenched his fist, but like with his face. I know that sounds crazy, but that's exactly what he did. It was like, dude, I cannot believe I'm letting this woman talk and speak for me in this moment where I'm the one who's supposed to be showing the strength. Like I'm always the person who's supposed to be showing strength. And now there's this minority woman is taking the strength from me away in this room. I know it was getting under his skin, man. So yeah, I just thought it was really crazy. And it also took a bullet in a black woman's head in order for it to happen. I know, crazy. But yeah, man, it's I love the way everything is unfolding in the mansion. But I love that, again, that moment in particular, because Homelander was quite literally helpless in that moment, and it took Victoria to come save him.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly too, because we know that anytime Homelander experiences moments of any sense or sign of inferiority, that just pisses him off, that angers him, and that creates a pretty resolute reaction out of him to eliminate whatever that threat is that's at play. And obviously Victoria Newman has been this front-facing political figure, very, very much liked by a good demographic of the people, seems trustworthy because she's also, operating secretly as a soup, this entire time. But, the fact that they have this very contentious relationship between these two, it's already contentious too, because he also approached her earlier in the episode like, yeah, heard about Stan Edgar. He got out, and he hasn't been found. And he certainly is like hinting that
Mm-hmm.
he might be suspicious of her, and she doesn't give in. Obviously, she's holding that secret back, but he already has, I think, something to be wary about as it relates to his particular relationship with her, which has never been just complete harmony. It's always been something in
Right.
terms of what can you do for me and what can I do for you. But now that they are sort of actively working together publicly, and then she probably in his eyes undermines him in that moment, even though she was just, stepping in to save him, to save his ass. That's just not going to go well at all. And we just might be setting up a situation which, I don't know if they're going to go this way, but feels like maybe at the end of the season, the hint might be like some sort of President Homelander situation. I don't know. Like if they're going to go that far with
Mm-hmm.
it. We've
Mm-hmm.
seen that hinted at before. I mean, even if you look at the
Mm-hmm.
marketing materials of this show, it's all very politically driven. It's him standing on top of a stage with confetti as if
Mm-hmm.
he's at like a convention of some sort. And that would it would be maybe a reach, but I don't know. That perhaps is like a scenario that they're trying to create for themselves where
Mm-hmm.
he's going to do something to get the power back because right now he's lost it. And he lost it
Right.
publicly in front of all these people too, which is kind of the
Mm-hmm.
ultimate slap in the face. He can't have that. We just know that deep down, him as a character just can't let that ride. So he's going to do something to gain that power back, whether it be in the actual position in and of itself, or if it's something probably more sneaky and underhanded, where he has to do some extra work behind the scenes, probably with the aid or the help of another soup, likely Firecracker, who we'll get back to because they certainly have their moment in this
Yeah. Yeah, we
episode.
will.
We should talk about also in this moment, because we do see like Sage, she catches a bullet from MM because there's all sorts of shit going
Mm-hmm.
on in this mansion. MM, is in the mansion, and they try to rescue Huey, but Sage discovers them. She shoots him in the head. I think immediately I knew. I'm like, well, she can't die that way.
Yep.
That's just not. It's not going to work. We
Mm-hmm.
already saw the lobotomy performed on her, so we know that she'll be able to overcome that. But how did you feel about her in that moment, seeing her, I mean, regress probably down to the lowest level that we've seen her thus far, because even the lobotomy, she was definitely like very immature, younger than her
Yeah.
years, but I think had some functionality. But here, I mean, just a complete child, just absolutely useless, stuffing her face with cake, can barely comprehend and put together coherent sentences. I mean, she was just on the sidelines at this point, and I'm sure that's going to draw even more ire and more anger from Homelander because she didn't show up
Mm-hmm.
in his moment of need.
Yeah, I'm sure it's accurate to where she got shot, like in the brain, like whatever lobe, you know what I mean? She got, I'm sure they were like, we got to take away this part of her, like this part of her has to go. And it was like you said, she was a child. She said something like, I stuck a bunch of candy corns in my mouth or something like that. I was like, whoa, no, you're like a baby right now. So it was really crazy to see. I'm also curious. We know her brain heals, but how long is that hole in her head gonna be there? Does that heal? Like, does she have a real head healing factor?
Like
Or is that why
regenerative
she
brain
always
shit.
did
Yeah.
lobotomies? Yeah,
Yeah.
or is that why she always did lobotomies? Because she didn't have to suffer any, you know what I mean, head anything. I'm wondering, like, the hole in her head is gonna be there for a minute. But yeah, you're right about she wasn't able to show up, I think, in the time of need for Homelander, but also I think Homelander is also gonna be pissed off at everybody else, which he is. But it's like, why the hell's a hole in her head too? Like, what went down in this mansion completely for this girl to have a hole pull up with a hole in her head? And why didn't I know anything about it? And I think that's another thing that makes is gonna piss Homelander off is a lot went down in this mansion without him knowing. And yeah, I think that's gonna be a whole nother ball game, man. But yeah, seeing both MM and I think Sister Sage get messed up in the way they did was like, not this kind of violence. This is not the violence I want. Not these two in particular, man, because they both, of course, they're the black characters. Of course I don't want to see them fighting the way they're fighting. It's like, this is annoying. But he messed her up though. He shot her in the head. It still looked crazy when he shot her in the head. It still looked like, whoa, she still got shot in the head. So still cool to see. But overall, man, I'm curious to see now when Sister Sage comes, back to whatever reality she needs to come back to, and when MM comes to from being at the hospital, what their next course of action is, what she's going to do, because of course she's so smart. I'm just very curious if that interaction between everybody kind of messed with her mind a little bit and how she's thinking about things. So yeah, I can't wait to see what happens.
Well, speaking of turns out he needs that LeBron rehab treatment too, because he has a panic attack in this episode. It's really, really bad. Basically, Sister Sage, before he does shoot her, she's antagonizing him because she already knows and can read the fuck out of She knows about his daughter, his relationship with his ex-wife. Like she's just running him down, and he has a panic attack because of it, and gets rescued by A-Train in a big moment of need. And A-Train takes him to the hospital because he can obviously get him there the quickest. Kimiko basically pleads with A-Train like, you have to help, which is also going to come back around, as you said, like the fact that all of this stuff was happening in the mansion and Homelander didn't know about it, and they've also been very, very suspicious of a mole to begin with, and who was here and who was there and who was doing what, so on and so forth. But we get a small but meaningful moment with A-Train where eventually he drops off at the hospital on a stretcher, and we see a young little boy. He sees A-Train pop up, and slowly but surely a smile comes across his face because he's seeing probably a hero that he's looked up to do something heroic, which A-Train hasn't done a ton of heroic shit in this show, but this was truly a moment of heroism. A guy that he's been working with, that he's been building a relationship with. Obviously, has seen something in A-Train to try to get him to come to the side of the boys. And A-Train, even though it was somewhat reluctant, he does it. And when he does it, he drops off The boy smiles at him, and A-Train, he smiles back, because that's, in all likelihood, the first time that he's actually felt like a hero and actually felt like that he deserved it. How did you feel about seeing that moment and what it meant to the character, especially considering everything he's been through up until this point?
I thought it was so interesting, man, because you said A-Train hasn't been doing anything heroic for a very long time. In fact, he's only kind of been fucking up for the most part until he does. Again, we kind of talked about him bringing that V to Huey, right? That was like a big thing where he was like, nah, bro, I actually kind of forgive you here. And this is almost like a second step of like, wait, you saved somebody. Not only did you save him, but it wasn't staged. And we know that's what Vault does. They stage savings and this and that. He's like, and the kid smiles at him, and A-Train's like, whoa, this is the first time probably that has happened without it being staged. Like, for real. Like, he actually seen me save somebody. And now the kid is smiling at me because he might look up to me or think I'm really cool, or like, I actually saved the day for once. So I know that's going to go far. And I think in the rehabilitation of A-Train, because has been trying to flip him, but now it's like, wait, is this what it feels like to be a hero? You know what I'm saying? Is this what it really feels like to be a hero? Now, I feel like it's going to, again, only send him deeper into the rehabilitation phase of becoming a hero, because he's going to know what that feels like. And I think that's going to change A-Train a lot, man. So I can't wait to see how that unfolds as well.
Follow-up question. Is this the beginning of the end for A-Train? The fact that he's like finally found this moment of, wow, I'm genuinely a hero and I'm genuinely seen that way. I feel like typically in stories where we're seeing this redemptive arc start to come back around right before we can hit that crescendo of like, yeah, you made the jump. You did it. You made the choice, my guy. He gets killed. Because, again, the big question that's looming large over the 7, who has been the conspirator working with the boys? How the fuck are they showing up at everything that we've done this season? They've been at literally everything. It just feels like that this story has to pay off somehow in this season. Do you think that this might spell death for him before we end the season off?
I don't know about before the season. I think maybe so, though. Maybe it does happen that fast. But yeah, I agree. This is definitely the beginning of the downfall of A-Train, and for so many different reasons. But yeah, man, just this one I think was too close to everything happening. Like, he was in the mansion. People probably know he's in the mansion. There's probably cameras somewhere. I don't know, but they're gonna figure out somehow that it was A-Train. But yeah, somebody finds him and he dies very soon. I just don't know if it's by the end of the season or early next season, but I definitely think his downfall is coming.
It's been real, A-Train. You're not making it out of season 4. It's not happening. I think he's definitely he's facing his end. Probably next episode. I mean, that's a big thing that you can do in a penultimate episode. The fact that they wrapped up things with him and Huey, and they found a resolution for that. The fact that he actually helped after has been trying to break through to him. The fact that he finally found a moment of heroism and he was acknowledged in that way. These are all the things that he's been working towards, because nobody else has done so. His brother doesn't want anything to do with him. His brother is keeping him away from his nephews. He doesn't have a relationship with them. They pretty much cut all of that off. Yeah, it's curtains for my guy. I feel like it's coming pretty soon here. Definitely before the end of the season if I had to put my money on it. You'll notice I'm stalling on the Tech Knight stuff. I'm gonna probably tackle every story I can before we get to that. I quickly want to talk about Nathan Mitchell, who plays on the show Black Noir, and he's always played Black Noir, but technically now for the first time we're seeing Nathan Mitchell unmasked. Now the actor, again, who's been playing Black Noir this entire time, was the actor that we saw this week, even though storyline wise this is Black Noir 2, it's a new guy, but they finally gave my guy a moment to shine. He finally got to walk out freely with his mask off and just act like a normal guy. Of course, he's playing this second edition of Black Noir, who he's just not with the shit. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm trying to figure this all out. But there is a conversation between him and the Deep, and the Deep is basically telling him like, you need to kill some people. That's what gets the power around here. You can't be afraid to take it there. And trust me, I've done all sorts of shit to make people fear me and to take it to that level. And it feels like that might be something that he takes seriously moving forward. But anything you want to say about just that brief interaction, what it might mean for the character, but also just the fact that we got to see Nathan Mitchell, finally just have his opportunity to shine after being under the mask for all of these seasons.
No, that's real, man. I love how meta that is. Like, the meta that whole conversation with him finally being unmasked as Black Noir is, even though it's Black Noir too. But it's like, yeah, I just love that. I think that's really cool that they decided to kind of do that. But man, this is a really scary and dark conversation. I, you know, I always feel like the Deep has had his dark moments, but this is like, he almost gives like a Homelander speech. You know what I'm saying? Like he tells him violence is power, like you said, and yeah, it'll get you very far here. If you go ahead and just go be violent. I actually honestly didn't expect to hear that from the Deep in that way. But man, if Black Noir takes that, Black Noir 2 takes that to heart, because if he's been looking for direction the whole time, nobody's telling him anything, and then Deep comes over here and is like, violence is power, bro. That's your direction. Well, now it's this one thing playing in the back of his head. Violence is power. That is honestly also Black Noir. That's how he operated in that. And I think he might have finally found what his motivation is. I think it's interesting that he found all the comics they said in Black Noir's closet. And it was like, what the hell am I supposed to do with these? I think that's hilarious. Because that's also a good question. Like, you find those and you're like, well, what does all of this mean? I think that's very hard to contextualize. But it'll be interesting, I think, to see what he does with the information that the Deep has given him, man. I didn't expect it to get that dark and that deep, but all of this still aligns with what Homelander wants, and he wants the wrath of the gods. That's what Homelander wants. And I think if you get Black Noir, the new Black Noir, on your side in that way, one that is a little more comprehensible and can talk, I think that is another scary person that they add to their side, man. Because again, for a while it was like he was about to leave, bro. He was like, I think I'm done with this shit. Like, I don't know why I'm here. And now I think he has some purpose, and I think it's going to change some things now that I feel like he might have some purpose.
Yeah, I think the Deep and A-Train in particular have often felt like two sides of the same coin in the show. They're typically, on the receiving end of a lot of just terrible treatment at the end of Homelander, and they're also just so fearful and afraid to stand up to him and to really have an opinion. They're yes men at the end of the day. And A-Train has sort of found a way to kind of persevere through that and find his own purpose and to maybe find some redemption and in some ways go directly against the Seven and against Homelander. But the Deep, he feels emboldened by what Homelander told them in the most recent episode. Be wrathful gods. The Deep's like, bet. Like, let's do that. I can do that. I still have superpowers. I can still talk to fish, bro. That is an incredible thing that most other soups aren't capable of doing. And if I want to utilize this power and step on people in whatever way I see fit, then so be it. And so now he is like the director to Black Noir as the actor, because Black Noir is like playing a part. He's like, I need direction. Somebody tell me what role I'm playing in this movie, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And finally, the Deep is like, this is your direction. This is what you do. Violence, violence, violence. Go for that. And so now Black Noir, that will be interesting because he's already committed certain acts of violence thus far, but he's never done so with conviction. He's never believed it.
Mm-hmm.
He's often done it out of confusion or just because he ended up in a particular situation. But now, what type of agency will he have when he actually like steps into those shoes and fulfills that sort of identity that's been passed down to him from Homelander? So I can't wait to see how that unfolds. And shout out to Nathan Mitchell. Glad that he got his moment to shine here with the mask off. I guess it's time to talk about Tech Knight and the Tech Cave in this episode. Oh man.
Oh boy.
So Tech Knight was introduced in Gen V. Obviously a character that has a ton of Batman parallels. That is the most appropriate comp for the character. He has a cave, he's a billionaire, had a traumatic incident happening during his childhood, all Bruce Wayne shit. We can obviously see that. But he has a bigger presence now in The Boys. He's been sprinkled throughout some of these episodes. But again, his mansion is the centerpiece for this episode where this whole event is taking place. And on the opposite side of things, the boys themselves are trying to infiltrate this party. Huey volunteers to be the one to go undercover to try to infiltrate this mansion, and he's going to portray himself to be another hero, Web Weaver, who's completely masked from head to toe, and that's how he's going to get in. And so he does that. He tries to put on certain slang and speak in a certain type of way to get close to Tech Knight, and then eventually Tech Knight's like, "Come to the cave. Let me show you something." Not realizing what the fuck he just signed up for, because my God, this kinky ass cave is filled with all sorts of weird contraptions, and I don't want to kink shame anybody, but it is something else. He's
pretty crazy.
He's built up a crazy layer down here. It was given Pulp Fiction. It was given The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. A lot of crazy shit goes down in this cave. And then Huey is just subjected to an awful lot here. I mean, Tech Knight, first of all, already has some sort of gimp in the cave, dressed up in a red leather outfit with the mask.
Like, who is this dude?
Who is this guy that's just here,
this guy
chained up, like a prisoner in this red gimp outfit? And then he makes Huey rub his ass on a cake, and then he makes him fart on it. He chains him up. And then it just gets worse from there. Ashley fucking comes down, her freaky ass. Oh my God. It just gets worse and worse. She's tickling Huey's feet. I know that's unbearable. His bare feet, she's tickling them. She's saying all sorts of dirty shit. We know that Ashley has her own kinks.
Yeah, we do.
She licks his foot. Wow. They just go for it completely. It's a really uncomfortable, but you can't turn and look away segment of this episode. And I don't even know how long it went. I don't even want to know how long I watched this, but it was a sight to see. What were you thinking as you were watching this shit? Like, what was going through your mind? Because we talk about their ability to up the ante and to shock us and to just create really, really shocking material. And they once again did it here. They gave us something that I don't think we've quite seen yet before out of the show.
I think the concept of what if the Batcave was a sex dungeon is crazy, because that's what this whole thing is. It's like, Batman, I know you probably be doing some crazy shit down here, and so they're like, the boys is like, look, this is what this will look like, and it's just so unhinged constantly. First and foremost, I have to start with Huey as Web Weaver, bro. Web Weaver as a character, I love how every superhero universe has their own Spider-Man character, but this one is like, what if his webs came out of his ass? That's pretty much what this is. What if he had like a third hole above the asshole and webs came out of there? That's where he gets his webs from. Of course that dude would be crazy, and of course he would, oh my God. So of course they do whatever they need to do to Web Weaver in order for Huey to now pose as Web Weaver. And man, this cave is like, it's just so nuts, bro. And like you said, Ashley was just like, no surprise that she was down there. But at first she was like, I've known Tech Knight for a long time, and just walks in. And you're just like, okay, I guess. Like, I don't really know what that means, because before that, Tech Knight is going on this whole slew of like, my whole family was slave catchers and racists. Then now we own these private prisons. And then I'm like, so is Ashley here for like kind of the political stuff? Like, why is Ashley really here? And then you find out that she's here for the sex party in the dungeon. And it just adds a whole nother dynamic to this, man. Cause it's like, they did so much up until this point to show you that Ashley belongs. And I just thought that was interesting. It's just like, yeah, of course you would be there. Of course you would be here within this freaky ass dungeon. Yeah, bro. Everybody here is they're fans. Everybody's freaky ass niggas. It's insane. I can't believe that they did this. Yeah, it's crazy. I love the way it ends up. But wow, they really went here and they went deep, man. He was gonna be scarred probably forever, for sure.
1,000%, and I'm glad that they addressed that later in
They
the
talked
episode. That
about
they
it.
talked about
Me
it.
too.
I'm like, man,
So
there's no way
glad.
you just went through that and the death of
No
your
way.
father and you're okay. You cannot be okay. And he's literally like, I'm not
Can't.
okay. This was unbelievable shit that they put in this episode. My goodness. I mean, what did it for me? I was already pretty shocked. Like the cake shit was strange and everything around that, but before Ashley leaves, she just, she takes her finger and
Wipes her.
rubs the coochie juice on his mask. Oh my God.
Shit was so crazy.
It was like, yo, wow, you were wet as fuck down there. That is unbelievable. You weren't playing. You were not playing.
She covered his whole mask, bro. I was like, damn.
It was unreal, like the fact that they put this in the show.
Crazy.
It's damn. I just, I don't know. I don't even know how to comprehend it. It's one of those things like, how much can we even, what type of color commentary can we give to this? This shit speaks for itself. Like, what do we even add to this conversation? It's pretty crazy. But the real, I think the real, reason this all goes down and what they find out on the other side of it, it is important. And I'm glad you brought up the black slave catcher stuff. Matter of fact, like Bruce Wayne, like we have to. I mean, would Bruce Wayne not really be this way in real life? Like, if there was a real Bruce Wayne, your parents got fucking shot down and murdered, right before your very eyes, you'd probably go up with some pretty traumatic shit too. Mind you,
man.
That wealth that they've accumulated for generation after generation, I'm sure that came from somewhere. Like, it didn't start from selling fucking peppermints. Like you built that off the backs of slaves more than likely, and then maybe it transitioned to something else. But no, I love that they attacked him in that way, even though that's my guy. But they had to get to the real. But
got to.
We find out after they're basically torturing Tech Knight, they turn the tables on him. They do some really funny shit. They donate $100 million to Black Lives Matter.
To Black Lives Matter.
that sends him through the fucking roof. That's what does it. He just can't. He can't accept that, his racist ass. He just cannot have that happen. But that gets him to talk. And basically, he reveals that Homelander and Sage are creating this plan to use the prisons that he owns, that his family, that his wealth has accumulated over all these years, as internment camps all throughout the earth. So basically, I would surmise to hold humans captive and to keep them imprisoned, very much like concentration camps from the Nazis and Hitler in World War II. That's a pretty epic bomb to drop in terms of the motivations, the plans, and what they're actually trying to do here. Because now we're talking about mass genocide on a ridiculously high level. What did you feel about that huge reveal? Because that is something. If I'm most likely sure about this, if I think I'm right, I think that's a unique addition and creation to this show. I don't believe that anything like that was in the comics in itself. Could be wrong, but I think from what I know, this was not something that was a part of the comic book storyline. This would very much be unique to this series. So how did you feel about just hearing that reveal there?
Crazy, bro. It's that word diabolical again. You want like a real true villain. Think about one is thinking about internment camps, but it's not even just internment. It's like it's the feeling and the knowing that he has the power to actually get the people there, to actually fill up those internment camps. That's some scary stuff, man. And wow, just what a moment. Like you said, it was a bombshell, because it's like, oh, this is it. This is y'all revealing that hand. That's some dark and deep stuff that y'all trying to tackle here. So yeah, bro, I just think that's a crazy undertaking for sure the rest of the season, if not the rest of the show. Like, if that's where they're headed and that's what they're trying to do, we got a lot of shit to get through and to talk about and to figure out, because that's some scary stuff. And all it takes to get there is for him to be, like you said, you were talking about President Homelander, bro. Guess who got elected and internment camps went up? His name was Hitler. That's all I'm, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's very feels very 1-to-1 comparison here. So yeah, I just really like how they decided to drop a bomb like that, because now the threat is even bigger than I think we thought it was. So it's I kind of like that. Now we still got to close the gap of how the hell we gonna stop this. And so I love that they raised that question. I'm ready to see how what the boys are gonna do about it, man, because that's a lot to take in.
Yeah, anytime a show or a film, whatever it may be, anytime that they can hold these master plans close to the vest, and then when they do choose to reveal them and deploy them, they're even worse than you possibly imagine. That's really, really effective. When you understand
Mm-hmm.
and you can start to reckon with the fact, like, oh, so everything is on the line, like literally
Yeah.
everything. The stakes probably couldn't be higher. Not in this particular world. We're talking about humanity being forced
Mm-hmm.
into internment camps, which means total control, which means death and genocide, all sorts of things, soup superiority, everything that Homelander has preached and talked about. But this is the action and the plan. My goodness, that's even more sinister than I thought. But it's also it's sinister because it's also kind of practical. It's not like this
Mm-hmm.
this thing that's an
Exactly.
impossibility, as you said. Like, we've seen this and we've gone through this in human history. There is a way to make this happen in real life, and now we have a character in Tech Knight who has the capabilities and the functionality and the resources to aid in this plan and to make this happen. And now we have Sister Sage, the smartest person on the planet, to figure out how to actually make this plan occur. And then you have Homelander, the strongest soup on Earth, damn near invulnerable, who can enforce it. And then you get the political aspects in there. It's crazy shit. It's really, really epic. And yeah, I can't wait to see how we continue on with this particular thread. Speaking of Homelander, though, he's definitely feeling, again, vulnerable, as we said from earlier. He's in his apartment alone. Firecracker comes up, who we don't see a ton in this episode, but she comes for a very, very important section because her and Sage, they've been having this little rivalry all season. They've been working together, but her and Sage are definitely like, they're not cool. They're not good friends, none of that. And so she sees an opportunity after everything that's happened to get in the good graces of Homelander. And I mean, she hits his weakest point ever. She pops out the breast milk, and Homelander folds so fucking easy. I mean, it took
So
nothing.
quick.
It was so quick. Like, she just popped it open, the tip milk came out, and that was it. He was ready to go. His reaction, by the way, Anthony Starr, was was perfection in that
He's
moment.
so good.
He's really,
He's
really
so
good. But what do you think this means, and how did you feel about that? I mean, first of all, seeing just like breast milk spray over this man's face out of nowhere like that.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy visual on top of, an episode of already crazy visuals. But then, yeah, just like this alliance, they may be developing between Firecracker and Homelander.
That shit was so unexpected for me. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I did not expect her to pop out her titty and for that breast milk to start coming out. I was not in the mindset that was about to happen. Like, at least like when we got to Tech Knight's lair, I knew some crazy, weird, freaky, dicky shit was gonna go on, but I was like, wait, what? And it's funny because she was like aiming almost at like Homelander's face, of course. So it was just like, it was just crazy. I did not expect it at all. But for her to go a step further and to say that she had to take medicine, like, in order to get to the point of lactation, is a whole different kind of, I think, one, she said loyalty, but two, that is nuts. That's actually insane that you decided to take these steps in order to get yourself to lactate because you knew that was his weakness. Crazy, crazy madness things going on here. And so Firecracker, to me, she's starting to become more formidable in my eyes. Before, I knew she was like smart to a degree, right? Like when she's telling Sister Sage, like, no, I kind of control these people in this way. And I'm like, of course, okay, Firecracker, you're smart. But this is such a big brain play to me, bro. This is like yeah, whoa, you went there. And it's gonna pay off for her in so many ways. Homelander was sitting there like, I don't care. I'm not attracted to you in any way. Boom, titty pops out with milk. Now you are it. You are the leader of everything to me. Like, now she has a ton of control with this, and she said she'll do anything for Homelander, man. And like, man, he folded so quick. He's just laying there, legit like a baby, with her titty in his mouth. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I know Firecracker just moved to like the top of the power list almost immediately. So yeah, I can't wait to see what unfolds from that. I thought that was it was so fast. It was like a 3-minute scene, but it meant so much for what the future is going to hold. You know what I'm saying? For what is going to happen. So shout out to Firecracker for being, I guess, that putting herself out on a limb to that degree to take medicine just to lactate so you can be this person and this close to Homelander. Again, very smart play, but You crazy, girl. There's something wrong with you. That's definitely something wrong with you. But she made it. She made it.
Yeah, I said it last week. I'm gonna say it again. Valerie Curry is killing it this season. She's doing so
Yeah.
great. I love the character and just everything that she's meant to the story. And this moment in particular is one role that only she could fulfill. Like she specifically could fulfill this role. Like, yes, he's not sexually attracted to her, but like he's not gonna be breastfeeding from a black woman. Like he wouldn't do that. You
Right.
know, he's racist.
Absolutely
You know,
not.
he's not going to those to that degree. But she fits the mold
Mm-hmm.
perfectly. You know, and she served it up right there on a silver platform, and yeah, he was ready to go. I mean, this was something he's been missing since Madeline from season one
Mm-hmm.
when she fulfilled that niche for him. But oh man, it just takes him back to those childhood days. The fact that his growth has been stunted so severely, and this was the this was the missing piece that he didn't know he really needed, but now it's back here. It's really crazy to see. We should move on to the final big element of the show with Butcher. This whole season, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Joe Kessler has been around as an old compadre from Butcher's past, you know, somebody that, you know, we knew that Butcher was really close with, a guy that he trusted. But then also at the end of last week's episode, we saw that Butcher and Joe Kessler had worked together because Joe Kessler was urging him, like, you got to get back to who you were. You gotta do some stuff and color outside the lines. Like that's the only way you're gonna be able to achieve this goal and eliminate Soups from the earth. And we see Butcher do something that feels very, very heinous, you know, and kidnapping Dr. Shaw and taking off his leg and basically forcing him in captivity to develop, you know, a brand new poison essentially to eliminate Soups, to try to come up with some sort of poison to kill them off. But this episode reveals to us that Joe Kessler is only a figment of Butcher's imagination. This goddamn parasite that's eating away at him, it's doing so in ways that we probably couldn't even predict. It doubled down because not only has it been seeing visions of Becca, and she's been sort of haunting his memories and his consciousness, and she's been there in moments to try to urge him on. This entire time, they pulled a Fight Club on us, and they basically showcased Joe Kessler's not really there. In fact, he died 11 years ago, you know, on a mission when they were in battle, and Butcher couldn't save him. And so Joe Kessler is now haunting him. He's the devilish side
Mm-hmm.
of Butcher's conscience, you know, whereas Becca is the more angelic side, his reason, his ability to reason and to think clearly. Joe Kessler has been that poking, nagging force within him that basically wants him to move with hate and to eliminate Soups. And it's a big bomb that they drop at the end of the episode. It's a big reveal, you know. Some people probably noticed it early on, you know, but for me personally, it caught me by surprise. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't anticipate it. As a matter of fact, before I even watched the episode, I saw them publish, you know, an Instagram post promoting the episode, and the caption
Mm-hmm.
said, "The one rule about episode 6 of The Boys is you don't talk about episode 6." And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. A Fight Club reference. I don't get it. Okay, cool.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden at the end of the episode, they got me, and I was like, wow, y'all got me. So I didn't see it coming. It was a big surprise. How did you feel about this? And also, how do you feel about how this just recontextualizes kind of everything we've seen so far in the season?
They got me too, bro. I was like, wait, what? He said he was like, bitch, if you don't shut up or something like that. I said, wait, what's going on? He was like, you can see her too? I was like, wait a second. It really threw me off. It threw me for a loop, man. But wow, Butcher is so fucked up, bro. He's so fucked up. And again, this comes off just that reveal that if you want to kill Homelander, you got to kill them all. You know what I mean? Like that this thing will be airborne if like the virus has to be that strong if you want to kill Homelander. And it's funny because I feel like I do remember mentioning like Joe Kessler has been itching this dude to be super dark, but in my mind I just thought he was just this old CIA agent who was trying to get shit done. And now it's like, oh no, that's part of Butcher who wants to get shit done. But I think it's interesting that these two people took the personas of two people he couldn't save. It's like you couldn't save Rebecca and you couldn't save Joe Kessler, and now both of them are haunting you in different ways. Like you said, it feels like good angel, bad angel kind of type thing, or good angel, devil kind of type thing. And so it's crazy because it does recontextualize like, bro, you've been talking at walls. Oh, like that's kind of crazy. I don't That's pretty
They
nuts
had
because
they
Joe
had to put that in the whole montage. We got it in Fight Club, we got it in Joker, Shutter
you gotta get
Island.
it.
Like, nigga, you're crazy. You've been talking to nobody
You're
this whole
nuts.
time.
You're nuts, bro. Because every time Joe Kessler was around, they made it feel. First of all, shout out to the directors. Every time Joe Kessler was around, they made it feel hella real.
Mm-hmm.
Every time Rebecca was around, you knew he was tripping, and it wasn't just because she was dead either. Though it was like the way they would place her, the way they would, put her in certain situations. Joe Kessler felt hella real. I thought that dude was there the whole time. So shout out to them for being able to make that that reveal. I think in that way, it was very, very surprising, man. But yeah, wow. Now that it's almost like now Butcher has come to, in a way, like now that he realizes that Joe Kessler has been haunting him in his mind, and that has been a kind of a devil part of him. I'm so curious how he's going to move. I really am, because now it's like that dude's not real. He was in your ear. Rebecca also not real, and she's in your ear. Which way do you choose? And I don't know. It's interesting. You said something last week like Butcher can't come back. Maybe this is like the beginning of like he can maybe come back. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, but at least he's conscious of what he's doing now. And when I seen that evil smirk, I was with you. I was like, this dude's not coming back. It's over. The evil smirk is nuts. But now we now know where the evil smirk comes from. It comes from Joe Kessler. So yeah, I don't know. Now that he's self-aware, I don't know what that looks like. That's all I'm saying, So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it's yeah, shout out to Eric Kripke and the creators. Like, I felt that they really masked this extraordinarily well, because I just did not see it coming. It caught me totally by surprise, and it actually, in hindsight, makes all the sense in the world. Just the way that they deployed Joe Kessler. We saw him not a ton, but just enough. And in the situations that he ended up in, it was always in a moment of counsel, in a moment of Butcher having to make a decision and to move forward with something, very much like how they utilized Becca in those situations. Like that tipping point where it's like, what is Butcher going to do? And he hears some voice. And sometimes it was Becca, and in other times where it felt like a real conversation, but it wasn't. It was with Joe Kessler, and it's really dark. I like anytime a movie does this, I feel so bad, because I'm just like, your mind has literally tricked you into thinking that somebody is really here, and you tricked us as an audience. But I'm not mad about me. That's fine. But as a character, it's like, this is the worst place that you can possibly be, where you don't even know what's reality and what's not reality. You can't even distinguish the two. And so you're operating in a completely different mode and state of mind, and who can talk to you, because now you're probably going to be questioning, like, well, you're not genuine, you're not real. I can't trust you. Huey, I can't trust you. Like, what is keeping him somewhat sane and all of this? I don't know. Maybe it was the idea that he thought Joe Kessler was real, but now that he knows that Joe Kessler is not real and just a figment of his imagination, I mean, he might be a loose cannon, at that point. Like, that just might make him even more dangerous than what he already is. And we still have to find out, like, how did he kill the soup from the previous episode that he just exploded out of nowhere? He just blew him up. He just blacked out, and all of a sudden it's guts everywhere. We still got to figure out, like, what happened there, because I think you were onto something when you talked about, like, the parasite within him might be his genetic power that he's gotten from the V. That might be just like a power that he has, but he's also still dying at the same time. So, like, how do we sort of get to a place to solve that? But yeah, it's pretty ingenious, just considering, like, where the Butcher character has to go in the comics, the dark places he has to go. I think that this is a great way to inch closer towards that. And it's really, really dark, and just, like, really creative stuff that they're doing here. So I love what they did here with this whole Joe Kessler character and how they utilized him in relation to Butcher. Any other things you want to point out about this episode before we close out here? Any other moments, characters that we hadn't talked about so far?
We got pretty much most of everything. The last thing I do want to say, Zendaya being the safe word is so accurate. Oh my God, I think that's so accurate, bro. They literally picked the Spider-Man character for Zendaya to be the safe word. I was like, damn, that makes sense. That Zendaya is the safe word. So meta, the boys. It's why I love it so much. They just know, like, the small jokes just work so well for me usually, man. And that was one of them. He was like, by the way, the safe word is Zendaya. Also, I like that the black butler was choking that nigga out. I was like, yes, more justice for the black people in this show, man. We're doing great. He was choking that nigga out. He was like, I didn't see this nigga do too much. I done cleaned up too much cum out of this cave. I'm sick of it. We'll pretend like it was an accident. I love that too. And then the last thing, the nigga that was tied up in the all red, that guy. I mean, is he part of the boys now, bro? I mean, he kind of helped save the day. That's all I'm saying. He kind of helped save the day. We don't know who he is, but he came through. That's all I'm saying. He came through. Him and the Black Butler came through, man. So shout out to them.
I mean, imagine the stories that he has. I can't begin to fathom what he's seen in that goddamn cave down there.
He was sick of it.
Oh, he was very much sick of it. He was doing everything he could. You know, he was just not having that shit. Only other thing I'll point out quickly is just about Kimiko and Frenchie. We don't see Frenchie in this week's episode, but you know, she tries to go to visit him, you know, multiple times. He's refusing visits after he turned himself in for the murders that he's previously committed. Clearly affected her. She was super sad about that. She even shed a tear. I thought that was a touching moment, but yeah, it was you know, something that definitely felt absent from the episode to not get anything from him. But you know, I'm curious to see like what state of mind he's going to be in, because he's just so reluctant, and I think he's in a dark place clearly because he doesn't even want like love and support, you know, from the person that's closest to him. So can only imagine what he's going through on the other side. But folks, those are all of our thoughts about the latest episode of The Boys Season 4. If you've checked out Dirty Business, definitely hit us up and let us know what you think.